Hi, my name is Jake Hutchinson. I'm a Avalanche dog trainer. I run search and rescue dogs, primarily air sensing dogs in various mediums, but I've been doing it for, I don't know, 29 years now. Let's go. This is Colt. He's a just barely turned 2 Belgian Malinois, getting ready for his first season as a validated working dog in a couple of different air scent disciplines. Also experimenting a little bit with some detection work with him just to keep his brain turning and his nose sharp when we're in the park in Salt Lake in the middle of summer. Avalanche search is very different than a lot of disciplines. We're air scenting for very generic human scent. You know, I almost never have a scent article from you to give my dog. So we teach the dogs to hunt, and they hunt for scent, right? And when they get scent, you know, the alert, they get in the indication for me, you know, depending on the organization you're part of, but I like a dog that it's gonna dig all the way through. And you know, way back to that very first dog I worked with, Aspen, long-haired German Shepherd, she was trained as Steve's backcountry ski partner. So she would get in the hole and she was going to grab whatever she could grab, whether it was your arm or your leg or whatever. And she wasn't going to stop till you're out of the snow. And I've always felt that's really important for these Avalanche dogs, because if I deploy on a search, I'm probably going to be doing a visual search, a scuff search. I'm going to do a transceiver search. I can't watch him all the time while he's working. So I need a dog that sticks with the person. The other thing is, you know, the 4 of you all sitting here all smell differently, so I have to train him to not look for a particular person, but look for any human scent under the snow. And then, yeah, it's for us, the prey drive, we feed on the prey drive, and for me, tug is the be-all, end-all for what they do, you know. And you get these high drive dogs, whether it's a lab or a mal or GSD, they'll tear you out of the snow. You know, the Swiss use food as their primary reward, but same concept. They want the dog to go into the hole and stay there till they're pulled away. Because if I get on a transceiver search and I'm over here and I miss an alerted indication because my dog didn't stay, I might have doubled or tripled my search time. So, you know, that we call it victim loyalty. It's similar in so many other disciplines, but that's really, we want a dog that hunts, and we want a dog that has that prey instinct to get to the quarry or the victim and stick with it till we let them go. Yeah, so I got into this search and rescue Avalanche dog world a little bit by accident. Early 90s, I had gone into the reserves in the Marine Corps to finish school, get a degree, get a commission, because I wanted to fly. And the reserves doesn't pay the bills quite the way you want to, so I was working construction in the summers and ski patrol. I got a job ski patrolling in the winter. I kind of stumbled into working with one of the Avalanche dogs there because the primary handler, was actually going to nursing school, and he needed someone to help run his dog. So me and actually 2 other guys kind of did it. And, you know, in 1992, what we were doing then is a far cry from what we're doing now. And a couple years later, I actually got hit by a car doing my summer construction job, which got me out of the Marine Corps, unfortunately, and kind of changed my plans. And at that point, I made a decision to go full time with doing this. I'd handled a couple other dogs as a second handler at that point, and really quickly decided I needed to get my own dog. And then very quickly found myself on my first deployment, first involved in a couple of body recoveries and some other stuff, and just kept going, and retired or left the ski industry or the ski resort industry in the season of 2010-11, and I've been teaching Avalanche courses for the American Avalanche Institute for about 10 years at that point, and decided to do that full time. My last working dog actually passed away that season as well. So I spent all my time helping other people train their dogs, and actually, he's the first working dog I've actually owned and trained for myself since then. So probably touched 400 or 500 dogs in the last 10 years in various organizations, and from Alaska to Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, Colorado, and everywhere in between. So the dogs are a great resource for us, like they are in so many other disciplines out there. In the absence of personal rescue gear, these guys can cover 100 meter by 100 meter area in 10 to 15 minutes max, which would take 100 rescuers the same amount of time to cover. The big deal for me was a dog, Bailey, a yellow lab that I was the second handler for, 99 or maybe 2000. We got deployed on a slide path adjacent to the ski area, some people who had actually left the ski area. At that point, our Summit County Sheriff in Utah was super skeptical about whether or not these dogs were worth the investment. And we got on scene. Roger, her primary handler, was actually handling her. And it took her 4.5 minutes to go from an alert to an indication and us with a positive probe strike. And that really kind of cemented the value to our skeptical sheriff and helped. I was part of an organization called Wasatch Backcountry Rescue, which is similar to C-RAD in Utah. And from there, I went on to become the vice president of that thing and spent a bunch of years fielding dogs with a bunch of fines. Unfortunately, mostly body recoveries, just because we don't get there fast enough, but we can bring closure to families really quickly in that. But seeing a dog, that was the first time I'd been around a dog after all this training actually do the thing that we had trained them to do, and to see it all come together in that moment after all those years of scratching our heads, wondering if we were doing the right thing. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, so I belong, or I run a couple different organizations. I have the website avalanchdog.com, which it was started. My mentor in this business unfortunately passed away in the mid-2000s, and before he did that, he was working on a book, and he kind of passed along all of his ideas plus all of his supporting documentation at that point, and in the form of a CD. So there you go. That tells you. And I realized there was a lot of stuff that's really amazing in there. There's also, he was investigating every corner of the dog training world. And so I created that website to host all that stuff that he had shared with me and a couple of other folks. It's evolved into some other stuff now, some consulting and some other training, but it's primarily there to be a resource, because when I got into this, there was no books, there was no nothing. We were trying to invent everything from other fields and other disciplines, and we were trying to make it work in the snow. And so I really just tried to create a resource there. I also sit on I'm an advisor to the Colorado Rapid Avalanche Deployment, C-RAD. I've been involved with those guys, I think I've got to be close to 10 years now. Helped them become a full-fledged nonprofit. I instruct at 2 or 3 of their schools every season. I actually am here in town for their school next week, and primarily they field avalanche dogs, but they do wilderness air sensing, water air sensing, and tracking. They're a huge resource, primarily in Summit County, but they spread out into they've got dogs over in Beaver Creek. They've got some dogs up Snowmass area and all the way down to Telluride. So really cool organization that I'm stoked to be part of. Yeah, so for me, I'm a AT skier. Years and years and years ago, I started in this business on telemark gear, but I've gotten a lot smarter. I don't like to work that hard anymore, but we could be out on a deployment for an hour. We could potentially have to spend the night out. A helicopter drops you off somewhere. There's no guarantee that thing's coming back, right? There's no guarantee that you have a safe route back out of the mountains. And so, being ready to spend the night for both me and the dog is pretty important. And also, keeping weight to a reasonable number. I could take my big mountaineering pack and take everything with me, but it's not really practical for what's going on. Plus, helicopters and all that stuff. So For me, it's a standard backcountry setup with a really lightweight bivy sack and an emergency sleeping bag, food and water. For the dog, I use the Nomad harness. I really like this thing for a bunch of reasons. Right now it's set up for summer work. In the winter, I've got the insulated cover to go in here, which is really critical when you got a short-haired mount with no body fat. Last year, we were here in Vail for a dog school. It was 30 below with wind for a couple of days, and it's the only time I've ever had him actually shut down. He actually got dead tail from the Colt. So I got to be able to protect these guys from the elements as well. Great things about this harness. Obviously I don't need plate carriers, things like that, but I carry him a lot. Whether it's on my back or getting on and off chair lifts, whatever it is, or even maybe having to lower him over a short cliff, whatever. So different handle options are really important. He skis on my back, on my shoulders back here all the time. Sit down. And having the restraint handle is nice too. Nothing scarier than having a 3 or 4 year old in ski boots and bright colored clothes, walking funny, come running up to your dog with their hands out, and so being able to really quickly grab the dog. He's pretty gentle, but there's a lot of cattle dogs in this business, and unfortunately cattle dogs nip, and you get a guest gets nipped at a ski resort, and that's the end of your dog program. So being able to grab him quickly and restrain, plus I'm wearing gloves, so having big handles that I don't have to search for and fight to get my hands under. With this harness, one of the things I really like is the skid plate underneath. When we're out searching in the woods in the summer, deadfall twigs, I actually came to these guys specifically with Colt because as a puppy a year ago, we were doing some drills. He actually came in on a quarry so hard, he went right into a downed pine, got him right in the chest. He went into it so hard, the quarry actually called a stop because he just was 100% certain that Colt he was gonna have a stick penetrating his chest. Ended up he did fracture some cartilage in his ribs. So we built this thing and we've put it to the test a few times now out there running through deadfall and everything else. A few scratches, no injuries to his chest and belly so far. So it's been a really critical thing, and it comes off really easy. So in the wintertime, it's not picking up a bunch of snow underneath. I'll pull that thing off and we're not going there. The other thing, if I gotta lower him or I gotta hook him up in a helicopter, it's right here. Depending on where we are, different states have different helicopter regulations. Some of them want the dogs restrained in the helicopter and muzzled. Some, they don't care. My experience with most of these dogs is they get in the ship and they just lay down once they're out of the rotor wash. They don't care much. The whole reason, and I don't want to pick on anybody out there, but like most of the guys in my business are using, which right. I worked for a bunch of years and they implemented a few ideas, but at the end of the day, they won't do anything they can't sell to the public at REI. And so it's like sort of functional, but not really. And then we've had a couple of them fail and dogs get injured in critical moments. And so that's why probably 90% of the time this is overkill, but I don't have to worry about it. If I got to pick him up at high speed, it's not going to fail. Yeah, so you can find me, my personal Instagram is jmhutch73. I also run the avalancedog.com website and Instagram. I try to feature everyone else's dogs on that, but summer, we're starting off the training season now, so we'll start getting lots of other footage out there with these guys going to work. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for great gear, and I think he's ready to go. What do you want to do? Huh?